And now, it's time for An Audience with the Pope, featuring esteemed, distinguished, and renowned trial attorney, Anthony Pope.
Is that an introduction?
I come in just for that. No other
Okay,
reason.
Good night.
I just want to
Thank
hear
you.
that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, mic drop. Mic drop. Oh, God.
An audience with the Pope. Here we go.
Listen, and the Pope today, Pope Francis is 83 years old. Happy birthday, Pope Francis. And what did you say? What did you say, Frank, when I said he looks older than 83? God bless him. I wish him all the best.
I said, yeah, Benedict at 116, whatever he is, looks younger than Pope Francis.
Sorry. So Anthony Pope is here. We want to talk about legal. I want to talk about this impeachment situation. I don't even want to use the word impeachment, but the first thing I got to say is 6 minutes after 9 o'clock is I go. It was what was it? Thanksgiving Day. It was Thanksgiving Day, right? Yeah. And then I'm going over and I'm running traffic and I'm stopped on 78 because that's what 78 does best is just stop you for crying out loud. And then my mother goes, "Oh, Joseph, Anthony's here." Anthony Pope goes over to my mom's house, and she's known. Anthony's been a friend of the family for many, many years. Comes over, brings the most beautiful flower arrangement. Sat and talked with my mom. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, that was great.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it so
Thank
much.
you.
I really did. She's such a wonderful, wonderful lady, and I love her. I love her, and I just wanted to stop and say hi.
So I came late. And
You did. You
So
were late.
it was that was her birthday. So I
And
come
that's
in.
unusual because usually you're on time. Joe.
What, to moms? Well,
Yeah.
not for moms. I am.
well,
Not
but-
anything else. Not anything else. So I walk in and I go, Mom, hi, happy Thanksgiving. I give her a big hug. You missed Anthony. That's the first thing I got.
I got to see Brett though, your nephew.
Yeah.
I got to see
Brett.
Brett.
How
Yeah,
about
he was
Brett?
great.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I
He
pretend.
may be. I think he's the first round draft choice when he comes out of the AGs.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I think,
How about
he's
him
the
working
lawyer.
with the AG? How about him working with the AGs down there in Jersey?
Yeah, no, it's
So
great
was-
experience. There's no question about it. When you first come out of law school, you really want to work with one of those agencies and get the experience of it, you know. And so yeah, I'm so happy to hear that he's down there. But I like the experience he's getting. So I told him if he decides to leave at some point, just make sure he gives me first bids, you know.
That's great. I'll tell you what, the briefs that they have to do for the state, because the state is sued constantly, and a lot of them are just bogus, but they leave it to Brett. The briefs are like a book he's got to write.
It's a tough job. It's a lot of hours.
Yeah,
a lot of hours, but it's good experience.
And so thank you for that. Hey, Anthony, so the impeachment thing, I've been avoiding it because now the House, of course, is going to vote for it. I mean, if it's a criminal trial, and you saw it in a criminal trial, like my father always said, I always tell you, he always remind me of my pop, you know, because he was very compartmentalized, he was very logical, he was very pragmatic, and he understood the law. He understood the law as well as you understand the law, Anthony Pope, beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. Before the House is going to start, they're actually have the inquiry on the impeachment, and they're spewing out the same catchphrases, quid pro quo, obstruction of Congress now. I mean, if this was a regular court of law, it would have been thrown out long ago, yes?
Well, it would be almost impossible to prove in a regular court of law because you have to show that he asked for something in return for something. Those words were never spoken. See, what they're attempting to do here is find him guilty of an attempt at the quid pro quo. The quid was there. The pro quo never came. And it gets very subjective, Joe, when you don't actually have something in exchange for something else. That's the problem. And here you don't have that. So one of the articles of impeachment is that he attempted to solicit a foreign national to help in an election. Now, you got to remember that the election is coming up, and Joe Biden may be the nominee for the Democratic Party. But you also have to be mindful that, number one, he received nothing. Number two, the money was sent. So the question is, was there an attempt to do it, even though it wasn't consummated? But at the same time, when you look at the mitigating factor of there was an investigation going on to determine corruption, and as a citizen, I don't want money to go to a government that is corrupt. So, you know, there was an overlap there. And certainly if I was advising the president, I probably would have said, stay away from that. Let the attorney general handle it. Let somebody else handle it. Because, you know, President Trump realizes that you don't want to give somebody the match to light the fire. And sometimes I think he does it purposely. No, I really do. I think he does it purposely because there's a genius about him and his calculations sometimes that most people don't even see, because he's not the most articulate sometimes, and sometimes he contradicts himself, but sometimes he just puts these things in action where he wants the controversy. But as far as proving it, Joe, and I say this to everybody that, listen, people that I've represented, they know, look, you have to have something real to go to a court of law. Supposition, speculation, it's not enough. And if this was in a normal court of law, I don't think anybody or any prosecutor would have taken it, indicted him, or sent it subsequently to a trial. But here, that's what you have, because Congress really acts as the grand jury. They decide whether or not there's enough evidence to indict. Here, it's to submit articles of impeachment. Once they vote on it, then it goes to the trial. And that's the same thing as 12 people. Here you have the senators. And the senators here, unlike a regular jury trial, where you have the jury deciding the facts of the case and the judge deciding the law, here you have the senators doing both. They're deciding the law and they're deciding the facts of the case.
Wow.
And they have to deliberate on it. So, but in some instances, look, if you go to trial in any federal court or state court and you want to waive a jury, you could have a judge alone if the parties agree. And in that instance, a judge would decide the same thing, the facts as well as the guilt
You
or the
prefer
non-guilt.
that when you're in a federal court?
No. I want 12 jurors. No, listen, it's much harder to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 people than it is one person. So give me those 12 people, because all you need is one person to say, nah, I'm not going in that direction. It's a hung jury. No, the only way I would ever, and I've done it, rarely, but the only way I would go with a judge alone is I really thought that the law was so much on my side and that it might be too complicated for a jury. And I know the judge. And sometimes, every now and then, the prosecutor's not certain about the case. You get a wink and a nod from the court. Well, okay, I'd be willing to hear it. But that's a calculated decision, and it's very difficult to make. Very difficult to make, because you want those 12 people there, the average people that want to listen to the evidence,
So the president, going back to the phone call, because I'm glad you brought it up, because I haven't really talked about it. He's talking. He knows everybody's listening. He knows everybody's listening.
That's what I can't understand.
And Joe Biden isn't even a threat to it. He hopes Joe Biden runs. He's not even a threat. He's not using another country. He goes, there was such corruption in Ukraine, such corruption. And he knew it. He goes, could you check that out? And look, and then what's happening, I'm concerned as an American citizen what Joe Biden did when he said fire that prosecutor, because he was going to look into Burisma, where Biden's son Hunter was given a free job, a lot of money. I'm concerned about that too. And
I agree. But the only difference was Biden wasn't running for office at the time.
He wasn't. Was he not?
No, he wasn't for office. And here you have somebody like Joe Biden who could very well be the Democratic nominee running against the president. So there, where the dynamic of it, the narrative changes somewhat. And again, the president said what he said. I don't see it. I think that it's too speculative. There never was anything in exchange for something else. He never used those exact terms.
Exactly.
He never used those exact terms. And there is an investigation going on when he made the phone call with Ukraine to determine their corruption. So, those circumstances to me would support no prosecutor taking this case and indicting it. This is political. This is political.
Stay with me too. Now, if I watched, Frank will remember the gal. She's doing a great report with Rudolph Giuliani from One America News Network. Yeah, they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job because Rudy's going on. People are kind of saying Rudy shouldn't be back in the Ukraine, but he's going in there. There was really such corruption. And then she did a linear, and I'm embarrassed I don't know her name because she's a good reporter. They broke it down, and they just said, look at the corruption. That's what the president was talking about. That's what he was upset about. For them to grasp at this. So this impeachment it's going to go away. It goes to the Senate. They're not going to vote for it. These two articles are very, very weak.
I agree on all of that, Joe. And this probably never would have happened, though, if the president just simply asked for any evidence of corruption. Okay, assist us with any evidence of corruption and not mention Biden. they wouldn't even have had enough
That's
to
not
go
the
this
way
further.
Donald Trump
Well,
talks.
he doesn't.
So, yeah,
He doesn't. But
or
listen,
to your point, he might have done it exactly for the purposes. That
he may have. Listen, he's very calculating. He may have in fact did it to bring this out because now it shows
Now he knows,
the political bias
That's right.
that the Democrats
That's
really
exactly
have
right.
against him.
Yeah, I swear to God.
You know, you add that to the Russian hoax, and now you have this.
Anthony Pope, you got a brilliant legal mind. What's next? What are the Democrats going to do next? After this goes away, after he wins, Donald Trump wins a 2020 landslide, what could they possibly have next? Where are they going to go next on
Yeah, well, you know,
Huh?
they'll always try to find something, and it's up to the president how he wants to approach it going forward. But it'll be interesting, and I think everybody should watch it. I think the citizens should watch it. People should see firsthand what's going on in our country and decide who they want to vote for next term.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the president.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about Congress. It's about Senate.
Yeah.
It's about all of these folks.
Yeah.
Joe, if we don't get term limits and stop these people
Exactly.
and get rid of this
Exactly.
institution that has been created that just is self-serving, we're never going to accomplish anything that we really should. And we're the greatest country in America. And my God, come on, people. Let's just wake up, all right? Vote these incumbents out, for Senate and Congress. They're there too long.
So you're the president's counsel, and then they're going to the Senate with this impeachment situation. Do you take it to trial? Do you?
I think there should be a limited trial. I don't think it should be overdone. I don't think that the Senate should just simply deny the trial because McConnell could do that. If he decides he doesn't want to have it, he doesn't feel there's enough, he has the right to do that. But I think there should be a limited trial with some witnesses and some cross-examination. I wish I could be part of it. I would love to be in the middle of that and cross-examining these witnesses because there's a lot of them that just didn't come across well. The Republicans or the President's Council could call some witnesses. And I think maybe a 2-week trial just to get enough out there to give everybody an understanding of what's going on, I think it perhaps could be helpful.
Yeah, but it would work for the. Do you think it would work for the Democrats as well? Because then all of a sudden Schumer started talking about, well, if you're going to bring people in, we want to bring people in.
Well, anytime you go to trial, the reason we settle things a lot of times is because it's always a double-edged sword. You never know how something's going to play out until you're actually right in the middle of it. You never know how a witness is going to respond. You really aren't sure the gestures, the manner, the confidence that they may have. You can't tell that until you're cross-examining or doing direct examination on someone. So if you can settle a case, I always tell clients all the time, if there's a settlement that could avoid something and is in our best interest, let's do it, whether it's civil, whether it's criminal. You go to trial as a last resort. That's what you do. And when you really feel that you could win, that's how you play it out. And so there's no question, Joe, your point is well taken. Calling witnesses, they could call them, you could call them. You don't know what's going to happen. And you sit there on eggshells and you just wonder how this is going to all take place. So, but I think a short trial is probably what's going to happen. And
regardless. Nothing.
Well, listen, I can't. There is nothing here that would suggest to me that the president should be removed from office or found guilty. And you have to get 67 senators to do that. So the Democrats realize that. They are banking on the fact that whatever comes out during this trial is going to be damaging to this president and the reelection. That's all it's about. It's about the reelection. And I think the people see it.
Was I the worst witness you ever had?
Joe, it was the best. Listen, I told these guys, you were the best. You were the best. I've never had a witness that went into different characters on the stand. There was David Letterman at one time. Johnny Carson appeared. Jerry Lewis was there at the trial. Al,
not guilty.
you had to see it.
Not guilty. Anyway, Your Honor.
What my client really means.
Oh, yeah, I just spoke for him. I just went into a whole thing, spoke for him, and the judge said, thank you, Mr. Pope, and I'm sure your client understood exactly what you just said.
But he won.
See Anthony in the back of his head. Oh, my God.
Anthony Pope, this guy does not lose. I got news for you. This is the guy you want watching your back, man.
So, Mr. President, you need me, give me a call.